By the end of this video, you will not have to worry about finding the best split ever again. You're welcome. Hey guys, BFPC here, coming at you on a Monday afternoon. So a lot of guys ask me, they say, Josh, what is the best split? Or they say, I'm thinking about changing my split again. A lot of guys fall into this boat. Maybe you fall into this boat. By the end of this video, you're going to understand what makes a split good, as well as how to tune it to fit your own needs. Okay? Before I dive into that, I need to get one thing out of the way first. To be honest with you guys, a split is not as important as many people think. If you're plateaued and you suspect it's your split, it's more than likely one or maybe a couple of 4 different things. Okay, let's get into that. So what are these 4 different fundamentals? Okay, 1, we have intensity, consistency, form, and progression. Forgive my terrible whiteboard handwriting. Okay, so there are a couple more things that you could argue might want to go in here, but I think most other things guys tend to get right. These 4 things though, some guys do get wrong, and I think that if you are thinking about changing your split, you're going to want to look at one of these 4 things first before you go about changing your split. So I'll quickly explain some of these things. So intensity is just how hard are you training? How close to failure are you getting? If you're not getting close to failure, if you're not training hard, you definitely need to work on your intensity before you think about changing your routine. Next, we have consistency. So if you're not getting in the gym consistently, why would you be thinking about changing your split? Obviously, you need to get in the gym consistently before you start thinking about anything else. That's the core pillar of training, is consistency. Next, I would say form. So a lot of guys have terrible form, I'm just going to be honest. Some guys I see lifting with like 1-inch range of motion, and I'm just like, you're wasting your effort and your time. As far as form goes, some good guidelines are, of course, range of motion and having slow eccentrics. There's a couple of other things that might go into it, but in general, a slow eccentric and range of motion are going to be definitely fundamentals in having good form. If you can be honest and say, hey, I know I have terrible form on everything, then work on your form first and then maybe think about changing your split. As far as progression goes, you want to make sure that you're sticking with a workout routine long enough to allow for progression, whether that be sets or weight or reps. You need to stick with a particular routine long enough to see progression. Also, I think a lot of guys ignore this, and after a certain point, you're going to plateau without some sort of progression scheme. Okay? So these 4 things you need to look into before you start worrying about, okay, maybe I need to change my split. So you might be saying, all right, Josh, quit beating around the bush. Just tell us what the best split is. And to that, I would say the best split is going to be highly personalized. I can't give a general recommendation to everybody, but what I can tell you is what makes a split good and what makes a split good for you. So there are 2 things that make a split good for you. Okay, the first one is a split that you enjoy. Okay? A split that you enjoy. That is the number 1 most important thing when you are trying to create a split, is running something that you enjoy. Okay, and the reason for that, if we go back over here, if you have a split that you enjoy, you're gonna tend to be more intense with it, okay? You're going to have a higher intensity with the routine that you enjoy, okay? Same thing with consistency. You're going to be more consistent with the routine that you enjoy, all right? Progression. If you have a routine that you enjoy running for a long time, that's going to be a good thing for progression, because for you to be able to run progressions, you need to be sticking to the same routine for a long time. So running a split that you enjoy running is going to allow for better progression. So I would say it doesn't necessarily apply as much to form, but I would say these things in particular, having a split that you enjoy makes it easier to dial in these fundamentals, just psychologically, right? The second thing is that you can use a split to dial in your frequency. Okay? So if you have a particular muscle that you want to hit more often during the week, you can use your split to dial in that frequency. And I'll give you an example. So this is actually a real example from something that I went through. So the routine that I was originally running, and I did really love this routine, was push-pull legs. A lot of guys love push-pull legs. So do push-pull legs, rest, push-pull legs. Okay, but what I started to notice was that my legs, my chest, and my back were pulling away from my arms. So I wasn't getting enough arm growth in proportion to the rest of my body. So if we look at the frequency that you're hitting your arms on push-pull legs, you hit your triceps one time here, one time here, and then you hit your biceps one time here, then one time here. So let's see what the frequency is total, right? So for your tries, you're running, that's a 2 times a week frequency, okay? One here, one there. And then same deal with the biceps. So bis is going to be 2 times a week, right? So I was like, how can I change my split to get more arm frequency? I didn't necessarily want to change the frequency of anything else, but I did want to change the arm frequency. So what I ended up changing to instead was a torso and limb split. So how that's run is you go, well, how I do it is I go legs, chest and back, or torso, and then arms and shoulders, rest. Okay. So now let's look at this frequency with the arms, right? So on a torso day with your rowing and your pressing that you're doing, I personally would consider that a half arm stimulus. So instead of one full arm stimulus, I would say that's like 0.5 for the triceps, so 0.5 here because of the pressing. And then on the arms, since I actually get its own dedicated day, I get to hit it harder. That's 1 here, 1 here. And then for biceps, it's the same thing, right? So because of the rowing, I get 0.5 here, 0.5 here, and then 1 here, 1 here. So now what do we have, right? So for the triceps, when you add this up, you now get a 3 times per week frequency. Same deal with the biceps. Now get a 3 times per week frequency. So you can see how here, by changing my split, going from push-pull legs to a torso and limb split, I was able to increase my frequency with my arms to get the frequency that I want, which I feel like in the long run, I actually did see a lot of arm gains from switching my routine. So this is definitely a situation where I had everything dialed in. So switching my split was definitely the right move. And you can apply this to any other muscle. So if you, let's say you really want to grow your legs, maybe you'll switch from this to like an upper lower so that you can hit lower a few more times per week or something like that. It's really up to you how you want to do it. But this is just the way that I personally had to do that in my life. So let's go ahead and just recap everything. So if you're thinking that you're plateaued and that you want to change your routine, or that you need to change your split, you should be looking at these 4 things first and making sure that you have these 4 things dialed in before you go about changing your split. Next, what makes a split good? Number 1, the most important thing that makes a split good is running a split that you enjoy. Now, the second thing that makes a split good is running a split that has the desired frequency that you need for you specifically. So if you need more arm frequency, your split needs more arm frequency. If you want more leg frequency, your split might need more leg frequency. That's up to you. So these 2 things are what make a split good in general. So this is me as I'm editing the video. I just wanted to go back and add something really quick. So something that goes hand in hand with frequency that I forgot to mention was how many days that you want to train, or how many rest days you want throughout the week, can also determine if a split is good or not. So I've have a lot of guys that say, oh, I want to train 3 days a week, or I want to train 4 days a week. Depending on that, how many days a week you want to train or how many rest days you want can affect which split is good for you. So for example, like if you only want to train 3 days a week, I put most guys who want to train 3 days a week, I'd put them on like a full body routine. So just so you can get adequate frequency while only training 3 days a week, I think for as far as 3 days a week go, I think full body is the best routine you can do. Also, I know guys who train 4 days a week and really like upper lower. I don't think you can get away with upper lower if you were going to do 5 or 6 days a week, but as far as 4 days a week, that's probably the best split that you can do. So again, it kind of does go hand in hand with frequency, but the amount of rest days that you want to do, or the amount of days that you want to train throughout the week, can affect which split is the best for you. Okay, and here we can see where I went from push-pull legs to a legs, torso, and limb split, to up my arm frequency to allow for better arm growth. Okay, so that is an overview on what makes a split good and why, and how to tune that split to fit your needs personally. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment if you have any questions, and if you're still wondering about the best splits and what my opinion is on different splits, check out this tier list video where I go over all the splits and rank them from S tier down to F tier. All right, peace.